They were designed to be the best. They met enemies face to face, endured tragedies and enjoyed victories. They went down in history due to the bravery of their crews. They are the ships that deserve to be called naval legends.
Suddenly, a glint. A shiny, metallic glint catches the video eye.
Dead ahead. Range 150 feet.
Keep it nice and high. He's looking up, though. He's look down if you want it.
I want him to look down, away from those. And you should be coming around on a heading.
And now the sonar on the ATV itself is announcing something big and oddly beautiful dead ahead.
There it is. Straight ahead.
Change your range scales in on OAS.
Aren't you blows?
It's definitely Yorktown.
Laterally left.
There's no question about that.
The Yorktown, at last. Exactly where Ballard thought it would be.
Try to hold it. I'm looking at my ready room right now. They can up with your can, which is under the bridge on the island on the flight deck.
Keep coming up, though. Oh, Yorktown, you're beautiful.
The Yorktown, 1,100 miles from Hawaii, 3,000 from Japan. Over 3 miles below the surface. Her 19,000 tons sunk halfway into the mud, her bow crushed. Yet Yorktown is still intact. The bridge.
Okay guys, we're at the weathering part of the USS Yorktown. Like I said before, last video, construction's completed, and it's time to weather this girl and make it look like she does now. To start off, what I used is this stuff right here. Local dirt. And if you look at the lid, see how it's got this texture to it? That's what I'm going for. So the first layer of weathering was done with this, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and that gives a base of sea growth and the rotting, the rusting hulk of the steel. The only parts that got it, you'll notice, is I did the hull sections. Okay, and where there's steel, we did it on the island, but I didn't do it on the deck. Okay, the reason being, a simple one, is that the hull, of course, is steel. The island is metal and steel also. The flight deck was wood. Okay, so it's not going to have the same type of growth on it. So basically just took some of the dirt stuff, splattered it on. Didn't want it too thick because actually right now the wreck is in pretty decent shape. So just, you know, light coat. Then what I did after that is I used some primer on it, primed it all over. This way we could start doing some painting on it. Okay, now if you look here, it started to get exactly the way I wanted it on the island. If you notice, it's starting to look, the lines of the island are softened and blurred. It looks like it's been underwater for a long time. So I think that's pretty decent so far. So what? It's a combination. I'm sorry for the stammering and stuttering, but between the dirt effect of this stuff, and then I heavily primered it and let it soak in. I wanted it to have that thick coat because there's so much growth on top of the metal now. It's obscured, and the details are disappearing. So that's where we are right now. So we did that. What I did is using heat gun, low setting, just run it over top of this to help dry it out a little bit, speed up the process. You gotta be careful with the heat gun, you don't melt your model. Just want to do it enough to dry the primer. Okay. And then the next step that I want to do is going to be adding some rust. Okay. Rust color is next. So again, the rust color for right now is going to go over the hull and the island. Not going to touch the flight deck with the rust. Okay? So give me a chance to mix some paint up and we're going to proceed to the next step. Okay. We got our rust mixed up and we're going to do some rusting. For the sake of video, I'm not using a paint booth, but I am going to put on a mask for to keep me from the lack of ventilation right now. A carrier sickle. Okay. So that is the rust, first stage of rust. Now, sorry, excuse me. You'll notice that when I was doing this, sorry, it's hard to pick up right now with the, alright, as I was doing this, I didn't do an even coat, and I basically just randomly shot everywhere. Now, the reality of it is, most of this rust is going to be covered up anyway. The problem is I just don't know where I want the rust to be yet. So, being the first layer, I want it to be everywhere, and then I will, I think I'm going to do the salt routine, apply a little water and salt to the areas that I want the rust to be, but I haven't figured out exactly where it is. That's why I did everything. So that's just the first coat of it. Island, same thing. Actually, okay. And with the island, with the island, I don't care that it's heavy, because again, it starts to blur all those details, obscures them, makes them look like it's been underwater. So that's why. All right, so that's that. Again, it's heavy right now, and it's on everything, but that's not what it's going to look like in the end. Or at least that's my goal, not to have it look like that. So let me clean up here, and I'll be back in a moment. Alright, last we left off with the Yorktown, you could see we've done 2 levels of weathering so far. Move in here. Okay. We did 2 levels so far. First, you could see that bubbling effect on the hull. That was done with a special paint. Okay, this is what it was. Okay, and by looking at the cap, you can see it's got that 3D effect. It's, you know, layered effect to it. So that gave us a bit of the look of growth on the hull. Alright. Then, after that, we gave it, all the steel surfaces, a coat of rust paint over top of it. Okay? See, it's not a perfectly even coat. That's fine. It's rust. Rust doesn't go even. Okay? Again, we didn't do the flight deck because of the flight deck's wood. That's why we didn't do the flight deck. All right. One thing you'll notice now, if you look at the flight deck, though, you'll see these lines across the flight deck. What those I'm trying to represent, is the flight deck is wood. And after sitting on the ocean floor for so many years, the wood's going to start to deteriorate. And it's going to start to sag. Those lines basically represent the framework underneath. Okay? So when I do finally coat the deck, you should see a wavy effect to it, which is what it looks like in the pictures that I've seen. I've also, on the flight deck also, there was a hole or a gouge in the deck here, and then periodically across some of the photos of the flight deck that I saw, there was bubbled up pieces. I just think it's the water gotten into the wood, and it's just kind of corroded and bubbled over. So it made these very bulky clumps on the flight deck. And once the flight deck gets covered, you could see shadows of that stuff, and it should look pretty good. But our third step for weathering this is going to be, we're going to put on the the gray color for the ship. But before I do that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do some salting of it first. So throughout different parts of the ship, I'm going to apply some salt, and then let that dry. Give it a spray of the gray, let it dry, pop off the salt, and then we should see the rust coming through. Okay, so here's what I was thinking of doing. I haven't done this before, so I mean, this is just trial and error for me. This is something new. So basically, I got a tub of water here, paintbrush. I'm just going to take my paintbrush, get it wet, and I'm going to put some water on the hull, like so. I'm going to take my salt, and I'm going to put it on the hull. Alright. Really want some more. Sorry for my lighting, guys. Still have really good lighting here. There we go. The water is really repelling off the paint. Almost like if it was a wax.
Coming to Yorktown. And it's live with the second base by Pedroia. Padres ran two in scoring position. It's 3-0 Boston.
Okay. Tell you what, with all the salting, I should be able to get a job at McDonald's. So let's take that. Oh, you know what I want to do too? I want to get a good coating on these guns also. The crane. Not to mention the larger clumps of salt, when I don't get rid of, should have a good look of sea growth. Make it look like sea growth is what I mean. Let's get this going. Really like to get some on this top piece. All right. So there's the superstructure now. Okay. Now we'll set those aside. We'll let those dry. I'll clean up my salt, and we'll get back and we'll do some painting. Okay. Be right back.